부대 토전이 다 쓰니 뭐 말이 완이 가서 조이가 우리 왔냐不살아 그거 새로 붙여고
As World War II escalated into a deadlock between the Allies and Axis powers, morality seemed to fade as casualties mounted on all sides. Supremacist ideologies fueled massacres, genocide, and other atrocities, all justified in the name of political dominance. Among the darkest of these horrors was the comfort woman system, a brutal reality that saw the forced sexual enslavement of between 50,000 and 200,000 women from multiple Southeast Asian nations from 1939 to 1949. Driven by patriarchal, nationalist, and xenophobic beliefs, this atrocity left deep physical and psychological scars on its victims, while also serving as a tool of propaganda to sabotage any prospects of peace between Japan and South Korea. Though efforts to offer financial reparations have acknowledged the victims' right to justice, they have largely fallen short of addressing the deeper moral, legal, and political obligations needed for true reconciliation, leaving this painful chapter as a lasting source of international conflict and unresolved trauma. The Meiji Restoration sparked Japan's push for westernization, causing economic and social upheaval as it sought to catch up with Europe. This fueled a belief in Japanese superiority, driving expansion across Asia in the early 1900s, which continued until World War II. Though modernized, Japan's conservative, homogeneous society hid regressive, patriarchal values. After the war, Confucian traditions trapped surviving comfort women, forcing them to bury their pain in silence, bound by expectations of purity and family honor.
여자라고 태어나서 그런데 생각조차도 못할 짓을 당하고 오는데 어떻게 내가 버젓하게 그게 갔다 왔다고 말을 하겠어요. 모두 알기는 공장에 갔다 온 줄만 알고 있지.
The first military-regulated comfort woman system was during the rape of Nanking, where over 20,000 women and girls were brutally assaulted, raped, and mutilated by Imperial Japanese soldiers. Some were promised jobs as nurses or waitresses, only to be kidnapped and forced into sexual slavery. A former soldier, Mr. Koki Nagatomi, recalls his friends joking that between Shanghai and Nanking, there are no virgins, and that you're not really a soldier unless you rape a woman. The woman endured horrific living conditions, confined to small cubicles and forced to service 8 to 10 men daily, suffering severe injuries to their bodies. Survivor Liu Mianhuan recalls, "The Japanese troops raped me every day. I was not yet 16. The torture made my private parts infected. I could neither sit nor stand." Liu's words paint a clear picture of the dehumanization these women faced, with medical attention only aimed at preventing the spread of STIs among soldiers. Other survivors carry permanent scars, both physical and emotional, from the brutal violence they endured. Beyond the visible scars of Japanese torture, comfort women carried deep psychological wounds, suffering from PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Survivor Kim Bok-dum shares her experience firsthand.
그 누워가지고 하는 것까지 다 보여. 억지로 끌려가서 기사대기 몇 차례 맞고 이래가 우리 어떻게 살겠나. 차라리 죽는 게 안 낫겠나. 어떻게 해서 죽나.
Her failed suicide attempt left her with permanent stomach damage. The suffering of comfort women continues, etched into haunting artworks created by survivors, silent testimonies to a trauma that has never truly faded.
They wanted justice and compensation and an apology more than anything else. They wanted an apology from the Japanese government. And they weren't getting anywhere. They were getting nowhere.
정말 기가 막혀요. 그 어마어마한 군인들이 달라들었고 강제로 달라들지긴 정말 기가 막혀. 아 그때 생각을 안 해야지 하면은 내 마음이 아주 그냥 더 어떻게 할지를 모르겠어요 그냥 그 생각을 하면.
In December 1991, survivor Hak-soon Kim became the first to publicly share her story, igniting a wave of testimonies and inspiring other survivors to demand justice. By 1992, former comfort women like Yoon-soo Lee led weekly Wednesday protests outside the Japanese embassy in Korea. Even today, former comfort women continue to attend Wednesday demonstrations in front of the newly built Comfort Woman Peace Monument. That same year, under growing pressure, Prime Minister Kishi Miyazawa issued an apology. But Japan's stance remained ambiguous. Between 1992 and 1993, the government issued vague statements, acknowledging suffering but refusing to admit state involvement. In 1995, Japan established the Asian Women's Fund, offering 2 million yen, roughly $12,800 to each survivor. Yet, because the money came from private citizens rather than the government, the fund was wildly rejected as an evasion of responsibility.
Critics in Japan say the individualized payments make it sound as if Tokyo has offered legal compensation to Korea for its past actions, while the money was originally intended to serve simply as aid.
The journalist asked the victims for their opinion on the Asian Women's Fund. The victims maintained that the Japanese government must itself provide compensation.
Then, in 2007, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe denied the existence of the Comfort Woman system altogether. By 2015, Japan attempted to close the matter with a new agreement, offering 1 billion yen as monetary relief.
Cash transfer of 1 billion yen, or roughly $10 million.
However, Japan still refused to fully acknowledge its role in the Comfort Woman system, rendering the settlement meaningless without a legally binding apology, and denying the victims true justice.
바람이 부나. 그런데 결과가 뭡니까? 우리는 다른 돈을 받기도 싫은 분들은 100억이 아니라 1000억을 줘도 바꿀 수가 없습니다.
The comfort woman issue has been deeply politicized, diverting attention from the real need for apology and justice. The Korean Council for Justice and Remembrance has maintained tight control over the narrative, using its management of the House of Danum nursing home to ensure that only certain survivors, those whose stories support its agenda, are presented to the public. In 2021, Harvard professor J. Mark Remzier sparked controversy by claiming the woman had voluntarily joined the system, suggesting the entire issue was fabricated. In fact, Remzier's claim was praised by some Japanese citizens, who saw it as a way to restore Japan's honor. However, scholars later revealed that many of his contracts and documents were fabricated by the Japanese, rendering his argument unsubstantiated.
包括外服的动支证明、外服的一个使用的规定，其实都可以见得日本军队、日本国家是从头至尾的参与了这个外服制度的制定和实施。
Meanwhile, the Korean Council pressured survivors to reject Japanese compensation, effectively blocking any chance of reconciliation between Japan and Korea. This political maneuvering, partly fueled by North Korea's desire to disrupt a US-Japan-South Korea alliance, one that threatens its nuclear ambitions.
Close coordination between our three countries has succeeded in changing the game with North Korea.
Continues to overshadow the call for true justice.
The tragedy of the Comfort Woman issue is one of history's most profound injustices. During World War II, nearly 75% of the victims perished, while survivors endured decades of shame, trauma, and silence, compounded by societal stigma and political neglect.
모른다고 나이 많아서 모른다고 무시하는 거예요? 내 인생을 살아주는 거예요?
Even worse, former comfort women and activists like Kim Bok-dong have passed away without any formal apology and acknowledgement by the Japanese government.
Said Tokyo is unable to confirm any forcible recruitment of the so-called comfort women during the war by the then military or government.
The fight for justice is far from over, and the moral obligation to seek it remains unwavering. Their struggle continues, and it is our responsibility to carry it forward.